what I want to talk about this afternoon is that we've all been through a ton of presentations on enhanced forest inventories and LiDAR, and I would bet just the Canadian Woodlands Forum alone in the last 5-6 years, there was probably 25-30 presentations on new technology and how to come up with digital forest inventories. But I want to talk about it from a different perspective. So New Brunswick has been in this since around 2013, a leader in North America in doing wall-to-wall LiDAR and wall-to-wall enhanced forest inventories. I want to talk about where we are today and maybe introduce some concepts so we can think a little bit. When I travel around, it's pretty obvious New Brunswick has adopted digital forest inventories, and behind it, a lot of it is about what we did with the LiDAR. I think we finished the last inventory cycle, Chris, maybe a year and a half ago. So technically we should be embarking on a new cycle, hopefully less than 10 years. But when I talk to folks, large companies and DNR, it's not clear where people think they will be going for digital forest inventories. And I throw it out there very often. I say, I think LiDAR, we're kind of beyond that now. So if we keep thinking that digital forest inventories is just about what we do with LiDAR, I think we're missing some opportunities. So maybe to have this little talk this afternoon, I want to introduce the concept of scales, because whether you're working at the strategic scale or working at the operating plan scale, your requirement, what you do consume for forest inventories tend to be very, very different. So I'm going to use that management planning scale concept to try to make my points about where we could go with digitalization in the next stage. So at the forest management plan level, at the very strategic level, we need different types of information, and we could argue that photo interpretation for species and then those large strata averages are okay at the strategic level to figure out wood supply and how we manage for other values. And now that we have LiDAR-derived enhanced forest inventories, well, we're taking this further. I'm always amazed when I talk to Chris Henniger and Sean and those guys on what they do with so little. Like that shop in Fredericton does pretty impressive stuff with plot matching and whatnot. But I think we're missing one element at the strategic planning stage, and I think we're missing some information to infer which stands in that stratum should be queued first. And we've been looking at using satellite imagery to try to predict growth rate of managed stands at the strategic level, and we'll see also where that fits at the tactical level. So here's a project that we did with DNR and JDI on License 7, along with our technology partner, Scene Sharp Technologies of Fredericton. We developed a tool to forecast in those old stands that received pre-commercial fitting more than 20 years ago, at the 10 meter by 10 meter pixel, try to forecast their rate of growth so that at the strategic level we can fine-tune and come up with a more precise annual level cut level. So we've introduced that tool. Has been validated. I'm biased, of course. I think it's pretty good. It's getting near where we'd like it to be. But you could run this annually using fresh Sentinel-2 data. The satellites went up in 2016. It wasn't until 2017 where you could actually get some clean imagery. But every year now, so right today we have 5 years worth of imagery. So by calculating basal area on the old image, calculating basal area on the new image, and then divided by the number of years, we have our growth rate. So that's an element that we certainly encourage people to investigate and try to see how it fits in your strategic planning scheme. So some types of inventory that we don't have today that could be very, very useful. Tactical, depending on who you talk to, it could be a 5-year plan, it could be a 10-year plan, it could be a rolling average plan. It's something more refined than a strategic plan, but in which you see where you will be operating in a few years. Of course, the same type of inventory we have today, photointerp, strata averages, LiDAR-derived EFI, the satellite, the growth rate we talked about fits very well here too, because if your tactical plan is 10 years, cutting the wrong stand today that's still growing and leaving the stand that is losing the most growth, you have catastrophic results in terms of wood flow and wood available. There's also other elements that we recommend people look into. Certainly species at the tactical level and also at the operational level. We certainly recommend that people look at something more precise, more spatially explicit than the photointerp. And of course, everything you do at the tactical scale, you should take advantage of it and update your strategic inventory. So again, we've looked at species. It's a big one. It could be the big piece. It's certainly the messiest. So we're trying to come up with better predictions and finer resolution, spatial resolution, than using photointerp. And today we're predicting proportions of 8 species at the 10 meter by 10 meter sentinel pixel, but we're not alone. There's a ton of people out there, especially across the pond, that are looking at that using freely available imagery.